welcome back to our conversations. I'm Tammy. This is Tracy. We have Molly and Nolan, and now we have Michelle with us. Welcome, Michelle.
Good to be here.
And we're going to have a recap from Molly.
So you guys just heard Dr. Lori talk about psychoeducation, and we are talking about the brain. And we are in the amygdala, which is my favorite part, and I like to call it the amalama ding dong. So this is going to be talking about top-down anxiety. And I like to think of this as like a tornado. So you have all of these thoughts that start to build, and I think of the thoughts as like the clouds that are coming together, and the moisture, and the high and low, whatever wind things that create a tornado. And the more that you think those, then the more that it starts to spin. And then the more that it starts to spin, eventually it spirals to where your thoughts just start to spiral down. So this is a great example of top-down anxiety, when the thoughts that you think cause your lid to flip. And that means then you're starting to activate the amygdala and get into fight, flight, or freeze. But you can actually think your way into that.
That's correct. Those thoughts actually will turn on the alarm in the amygdala, like Lori taught us, and we start then having behaviors that exhibit that anxiety.
Because it signals danger, danger, danger.
That's right.
But the fact that you can think your way into danger, 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 when there's no danger, 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 is wild.
It is wild.
So, Michelle.
Well, I can talk to you a little bit about anxiety.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So when I first came to know boundaries, I went to the first volunteer orientation, and I had been getting my life together. And so I was like, I'm going to go volunteer and I'm going to change the world. So I went to the volunteer orientation, and it was pretty long. I think it was all day. And I left there so upset because I thought, I can't help anyone. I am such a mess. Because we took an anxiety scale there, and the anxiety scale had 29 on it, and I scored 29 out of 29.
Wow. 100%.
100%.
Overachieving.
A plus. Yeah. Only I didn't want to be achieving like that.
Right.
But it came from, I just had over the years, I think even from the time I was small, and then with everything that happened to me, like I think really what I lived in was, I think my lid stayed flipped. Like I think that's just how I existed, and I didn't even realize it. I didn't know what was happening to me. All I knew was that I really, a lot of times felt like I was like dying inside, like just inside, like not a physical thing, but it was crippling me. I was crippled. Just like a person might have a physical ailment, I was crippled with anxiety. Like it affected all of my relationships, everything from work, my kids, family, because of the anxiety. So, but I didn't really know it until I read all the things on the scale. And then it was like, oh, yes, that is me. That's how I feel most of the time.
So during that time in your life, when you were getting your life back together, what would you do to help settle down that anxiety? Those are called safety behaviors. So what were you doing to sort of try to settle that down?
Probably overworking. I became a workaholic. That was one of the biggest things. When I did start getting my life together, that's what I did. I worked all the time, I had gone back to school and gotten a new profession, and I threw myself into it. And I was really like, I got promotions really quickly and things like that. And that's probably how I handled it. Was like
achieving.
I wasn't handling it, but yes.
Okay. So then you were saying you were getting your life back together, and that's when you got the invitation to figure out some real coping skills to
and
the
it was
anxiety.
and it was a huge invitation from Jesus. I didn't know then what I know now, that what he wanted to do was through me so that I could help other people. That's what's happened. And he came to me as peace. I never had peace. All I had was the anxiety, and I didn't know what peace felt like. And so over the years, that's how he's come to me as peace. And so now I won't let go of my peace that easy. And when I do, then I go back and figure out, whoa, what was it that, you know what I mean? How did I lose my peace? And I go back and I pick it back up.
Oh, that's good. That's a much better safety behavior. So a poor safety behavior that you were exhibiting when you were in anxiety was like working too much, being too busy, overachieving, but then you got the invitation to switch that out for peace. So then you're living in peace as your brain became renewed. So you found that your amygdala or your fire alarm goes off less now, or it goes off and now you know what to do with it?
it probably goes off less, but also now I know what to do. I know when it activates, I know to regulate and then investigate. And I'm not saying it's always easy, but it's so much better. It's so much better this way. Because, oftentimes the things around you don't change. And that's what my existence was. Not everything around me changed. There was still a lot of chaos. But what did change was me.
Yeah.
Your perspective.
My perspective, yes, my perspective. And just like when he came to me as peace, and that's the promise he keeps. Like, that's what he gives us. And so for me, it's like, I'm hanging on to that.
Yeah.
That's mine. That peace is mine. And so that's just how I am now. I want to have peace.
I know one of the things that Dr. Basie just talked about in the video was knowing our strengths and weaknesses. Have you found that important in keeping your alarm from going off, is knowing your strengths and weaknesses? Can you think of any stories you could tell us about that?
It's like setting boundaries. I could talk about boundaries with my kids. I could talk about all those kinds of things. If a conversation even starts to go south to where I know this is a place where I used to go and I'm not going anymore, then I will just end the conversation, hang the phone up, or just stop her, because I don't have to do that anymore. It's because I've learned how to set boundaries, healthy boundaries.
You've got a healthier brain.
Yes, very much healthier brain.
Yeah, it's really exciting to think about the things that we've been learning for Dr. Basie about the connecting and firing and wiring together, and how you've really made a decision. I'm not going to let my brain fire in that way. And that's keeping your alarm from going off. And so then you can keep your thinking brain engaged.
And part of my healing was learning when I started going to the classes, which is the journey of restoration, and learning and putting language to what I was feeling, like the hypervigilance. Yeah. I did not know what hypervigilance was before, so I didn't know what I was experiencing. All I knew was something wasn't right because I couldn't handle if the phone rang, or something was always going to happen. And then when I could put language to it, and then Jesus began to start healing that, it was just amazing. And that all comes from working this. If you do it.
Yeah, but if that's the thought that you thought all the time was, okay, every time the phone rings, I need to be prepared for whatever's gonna happen. That's that worry loop of as soon as I think it, and then your body starts to go ahead and release the chemicals and tell you, yes, be anxious, yes, get ready because you're about to endure a fight. That is an exhausting way to have to be stuck.
I was exhausted. And have you guys seen that meme of where the cat has the plug in the plug and then the hair's standing up like this? That's probably what it was like being around me 24/7. That's probably what it was like. Yeah.
That's funny.
I really identify. I felt like when Dr. Lori talked about this section, I thought, oh my gosh, she's read my mail. This is amazing. This is exactly as how I was, high functioning. Very much identify with what you're saying. And it's sort of mind boggling to know that I remember having that aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm giving myself post-traumatic stress disorder by the things that I allow myself to think about. And there's a reason that he says, do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. And it's easy to say that, but you really don't think about the damage you're doing when you worry about things. That 92% of the things you worry about never even happen. And that the 8% that do, he's going to give you the grace to get through them.
Yeah.
So if you can really think about times, stupid example is going on a trip and spending all this time putting, what am I going to wear? What outfit am I going to wear? What am I going to bring? I need to buy a new dress and do this and do that. And then going on that trip and your luggage doesn't arrive.
That's a perfect example.
Has this happened to you?
It has. How did it go? So, just think about how many times you've worried about things and then it's just recently, you've got this event to go to and this has got to happen on these 3 things you got to do. And it turns out COVID hits. Don't have to go to the events. Never should have worried about it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you're not supposed to worry about it. You're supposed to give it to him. And when we choose to think on the things for whatever reason that are going to, that we're not supposed to think about, we're going to give us that same stress.
It's an intentional thing to start changing the way you think, because that's what I used to worry about everything. And now I'm like, but you have to do it. It's an intentional thing. You have to just change. Yes. To say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to think about that. It's not going to happen because like she said, 92% of it doesn't even happen. And then the 8% is like never as bad as what you think.
Right.
So,
So good.
It's almost like that scriptural. Like, don't worry.
yeah.
Like,
I think it does say that somewhere in the Bible.
You should have put that in the Bible.
I mean, there's a reason why we ask for our daily bread. Like, we don't ask for tomorrow's bread.
Yeah,
and he doesn't say, like, here's the bread that you're going to need for tomorrow. He's like, here's your daily bread. And nothing's even promised, or we don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes. So whatever this illusion of control is, that's the thing that produces anxiety, is whenever we think that if we worry about it enough and we safety behavior enough, that somehow we're going to be able to fix it.
I think that's one of the beautiful things now is that we don't have what I've learned, and this is even probably in the last year, is I don't have control over anything. So why would I even worry about it? Yeah. I mean, there's no sense to spend my thinking, my thought processes when I can be doing a jillion other wonderful things, beautiful things, learning new things, than worrying about things that I don't have any control over anyway.
And even things like traumatic things that may have happened. I mean, we just are so in the habit of thinking, for me, it's sort of something happened to my daughter, and I'll share it later. Thinking on that, even though I need to think to be her mother about what happened and how to lead her towards it, how much time are you going to give that? Just being really deliberate. We think about things, and if you think about things and you give it too much time that do not apply to you, therefore you weren't given the grace to get through it, you're releasing the same chemicals in your brain as if that had happened to you, and it didn't. So it's just amazing the way that Dr. Lori has coupled biblical principles with the way the brain is wired and works and created by the Creator. So,
yeah, it's amazing.
It really is. Like, and the fact that, like, that's what shapes our brain is literally just our thoughts. Like, that is insane. So if you take a brain scan, and you see like the unhealthy brain that's all like gross and has all of like the center part all weird where you can't connect with people, but to just really like let it sink in that can be healed just through, if we choose to focus on what he tells us to focus on, like that is a straight up gift. Like, that is a gift from the Lord. That's him saying, I don't want you to be stuck in anxiety, and I don't want you to be stuck with where you think that you have to be, and I don't want you to be hyper vigilant and going around always on edge. Like, that's his gift to us saying, like, come here.
Right.
Come here and be loved, and let me show you what life could look like. That's wild.
Yeah, when we're focused on him, when those things do come and those trials do hit us, we're so focused on him that the grace just comes naturally, and we don't even, we know that those bad things are happening, but that's not where our focus is.
Yeah.
And if we can create that habit and that atmosphere where we walk in and we're looking for Jesus, then we're prepared for when those things do happen, and they are going to happen.
That's right. But you're saying create a life where we're living within those boundaries, those guardrails, that Galatians 5 and Philippians 4, just living in there. So when we're bumped and we're hit, that our amygdala doesn't sound the alarm.
Yeah. And I know that, like, even in, like, when you have that kind of anxiety, just not to throw both of us under the bus, but I lived with her. I lived with Michelle for a little over a year, maybe a year and a half, and just seeing how our issue, like, you know, how Dr. Lori says, if you have someone who has 5 issues and someone else who has 5 issues, then you get them together, and how many issues do you have? Mm-hmm. It's not 10, it's 25. And so, like, being able to walk this out in community, of where if we know that she leans towards anxious, and then we know that if I'm not healthy, I'll lean towards fearful. And so then you have two people in a house where her go-to is she's preparing to leave at the next sign of any kind of confrontation. And I'm scared of her and scared of me, preparing to be left because I'm not even worthy of it. Like, to really be intentional about, hey, no. Like, in order to calm both of our brains down and to co-regulate, we're going to sit down and say, hey, I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. I love you. You love me. Let's hear each other's heart in this. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. And I used to try to run at first, and she would be calling out my anxiety, and I would be denying it.
Yeah. I came up with a new term.
Yes, most definitely.
Called kenneling. And that's when she would literally retreat to her bedroom and close the door. And listen, this woman does not close the door for literally anything. And I found that we had some kind of just miscommunication, and up she went the stairs, and then I hear the door close, and I was like, did she just kennel herself? Like, you know how a dog will like go back into its cage, and that means like, don't touch
Safe
me.
place.
I want my safe place. Like, and I was like, well, it's going to be a long year and a half if this is how we do it.
When in actuality, that's a very lonely place. Like, that's not really what you want to do. You don't really want to go shut the door and kennel up, but you just don't know how. And so that's the beauty of, that's why he put us together, is so that she could help me quit denying what was obvious.
And then I could learn that you weren't leaving
going anywhere.
Like, that was like just as much of that kind of anxiety in me as I would think myself into, well, she's going to leave. She's going to leave, or she's going to say that she doesn't want me here. Like, all of these just thoughts that weren't even true.
That's right.
So learning to like anxiety can just really infiltrate into not just you in that isolating feeling, but with all the people and in your relationships.
Yeah, because it's crippling. It is.
Yeah.
Anxiety is. It is. That's the only word I have for it, is crippling.
I love how Dr. Lori says that whatever you feed will grow. And so one thing to do is that a possible thing to do is to name that worry. And, and then you'll say, if you named it, Debbie, and you tell your friends you've named your worry Debbie, you can say, are you having Debbie over for dinner tonight? Are you feeding Debbie?
That's pretty funny.
I don't want to come over if Debbie's going to be there. That's right. And just name it. Like, if you're having Debbie for dinner, I'm going to wait till tomorrow night.
That's right.
Not even Debbie leaves. I think it's a great creative way.
Yes, it is.
To
That is so
put
good.
it, help others throw it. Keep you accountable. Yeah.
I think I don't deal with a constant level of anxiety, but I think sometimes the top down almost just can sneak up on you. If you're not paying attention to what you're thinking about, the Bible says the enemy is like a roaring lion sneaking around to see who it can devour. I feel like anxiety is like that through this method, like just not paying attention to what you're thinking about. And then suddenly you're thinking about negativity. Then suddenly you can be thinking about death or destruction, and then it can go downhill really fast, I have found. And I don't even deal with anxiety on a daily basis, you know what I'm saying? But I just feel like it's for everyone. Dealing with the top down, knowing about the amygdala, it's not just for somebody who deals with a great deal of anxiety, but I think for every believer, we're told to not fear and to not have worry and to not have anxiousness. And this is a key method to help make that happen.
I mean, he says to take every thought captive. And if you don't like not choosing a thought to have or not choosing to take a thought captive is still making a decision.
That's right.
Like, you're still choosing something. And that's where, like, wouldn't it be better to just go ahead and do the hard work of retraining your thoughts and end up at some point? How long does it take to build a new neural pathway? 20 days, 21 days?
21 days.
21 days.
And like 1,000 habits.
And then 3 times after that, right? 3 months
Just
after
keep
that.
going and keep going.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime.
I remember my dad used to say, and it's this is a lot simpler, but he would say it all the time. He'd say, so it starts with a thought. So a thought, and you reap an action. So an action, you reap a habit. So a habit, you reap a character, and so a character, you reap a destiny. So it all starts right there with a thought. I didn't learn that very well because I learned later. But maybe you won't be slow learners like I was. And this makes sense now. All of that really clicked. I thought, well, that's what he was talking about. But it's true. It just starts with one thought.
And something that I've learned, and Dr. Basie even teaches, is a strategy to help with that one thought is giving other people the benefit of the doubt. That can really stop, going downhill quick. Like, she loves me. She didn't really mean it to feel like that. I'm going to go investigate. I think, in the whole activate, regulate, investigate process, I think just keeping that in mind of giving somebody the benefit of the doubt gives a pause just enough to regain some of your thought process rather than the amygdala just firing off.
The regulating and investigating has been a huge tool for me. Like, it's really been life-changing. Instead of just automatically thinking those crazy thoughts because it was familiar, then I can regulate and then investigate and be like, actually, that's not true. Actually, that's not what they said. Or actually, that's not what he said. So I just go to the truth of Jesus, what Jesus said, who I am. And so it's just easy now to regulate and investigate.
Yeah.
Yes.
The revelation of just because I think it doesn't make it true.
That's right. That's one of my favorite sayings is just because someone thinks it doesn't make it true. And so that definitely goes for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Same
Well,
here.
very good. Would you like to do a recap for
Yeah,
us?
I would. So here's what I'm hearing is if you are in a top-down anxiety loop and you feel yourself doing your alarm being pulled and then you panic and then you have a safety behavior, but Jesus is inviting you to, whenever it activates, to really regulate and then go investigate, that now's the time to do that. You guys, because the safety behavior, I'm telling you from experience, and Michelle will tell you from experience, that it doesn't last long, that the safety behavior is a counterfeit. The safety behavior might make it feel better for a little bit, but it's not Jesus. And he's the only one who can actually heal that thing. And every time you opt for the safety behavior, what you're saying to Jesus is, I want this more than I want you. And that's idolatry. And it just is what it is, and not in shame and not in condemnation. But tonight, right now, today, wherever you're listening, now's the time to heal it. And now's the time to open yourself up to see if there's anything that he wants to say to you. So I've walked through this, and Ann Nolan has walked through this. And at the end of this video, we have shared 2 testimonies under top-down anxiety. So be sure to check it out, and we'll see you guys next time.
Okay, the top-down anxiety. So for me, if you've listened to this episode of Lori describing what this is, it sounds like she's been reading my mail. I literally was that person who is allowing myself to be completely controlled by all the whirling thoughts in my head, even things that didn't apply to me that I was ruminating on, and then sending myself into anxiety. It was totally what I was doing, and I looked high functioning on the outside, but on the inside, I was twisted up in knots. And when my first crisis hit, I didn't mention that of my 3 teenage children that I have, 2 of them are identical twin girls. And the first crisis that happened before the journey of restoration, pre-restoration, I say, I flunked the test and I gave myself top-down anxiety. I literally, as my daughter would say, picked up the house, turned it upside down, shook it until nothing was left standing. Everything was in complete destruction. And so fortunately, with the principles that I learned in the journey of restoration and CPR, and walking this out with Jesus and meeting and encountering him and learning how to connect with him on a daily basis, all this preparation I was doing over a 2-year period really prepared me for what was about to be the next crisis. So, in all this practice, I had another crisis. And stay tuned. You'll hear how it was handled. I believe that I was able to handle, I was so much more prepared. I'm so grateful for God to be able to minister to my daughter in a really, really, really difficult time in a way that I know I would never have been able to handle had I not gone through this journey of restoration and learned who I am and whose I am and how much God loves me and how to connect with Him and how to minister to other people from that place of help.
So for top-down anxiety, this is kind of the example that I've used forever because this is what it feels like. But I remember one time my dad calls me on the phone and he says, "Hey, Malls, would you like to go get lunch with me today? I'm at a doctor's appointment and then I will be driving by right past you. Would love to pick you up for lunch and then your mom will meet us somewhere as well." And I was like, "Well, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go to lunch." And then we hang up the phone and immediately my brain just freaks out and I stop thinking about the things that I'm told to think about and I start going straight into this narrative of that, oh my gosh, why does Dad want to go to lunch? And this is where it started. I wonder why he wants to go to lunch. And he's at a doctor's appointment. Well, why is he at a doctor's appointment? And then I'm thinking, and he wants Mom to meet us there. So he wants to take me to lunch in person after a doctor's appointment. And he wants Mom to be there. All of these sound like he's going to tell me that he has some kind of incurable disease and he's only got like 3 weeks to live. And that's how quickly it happened, is that I would let myself just keep ruminating on those thoughts. It would just spiral right out of control. So then I'm thinking, okay, like pacing back and forth. I'm like, this is it. I need to prepare myself for my dad's death, that he's going to tell me that in just a few short weeks, he is going to pass away. I can't handle this. And then I started planning his funeral. I was like, I don't even know, like, what am I going to wear to the funeral? How am I going to tell my sisters? I wonder if they've already heard all of these things. And then I'm like, well, I know he loves OU, so obviously we're going to have Boomer Sooner in like Oklahoma in the middle of his funeral. And that's how quickly that happened. And then finally, so I went into the other room and someone was sitting there and I was like, hey, this is what's going on. I think my dad is about to tell me that he's only got a few more weeks to live. And she was like, whoa, how did you get this? And I was like, because he asked me to go to lunch. Like, do you see that? Like, you don't know that you're doing it until you've just gone right down there. When you're not taking every thought captive, that's how quickly it can spiral out of control. I picture it like a tornado. Like, here's the storms a brewing, and then under enough pressure, and you still ruminate on the thoughts, and finally it produces disaster. And that's what it felt like. So then, cut to, my dad gets there, rings the doorbell. I'm like, Dad, are you okay? Like, is there a reason why, like, you want to go to lunch with me today? And he was like, yeah, it's a great day to see you and have lunch. I just like being with you. And then I'm like, well, Dad, why are you having all of these doctor's appointments? Right? The 2 in the last, like, probably 6 months. I was like, why are you the doctor? And he was like, well, I got new insurance, so I'm picking a new doctor. And that was it. And I could have saved myself a lot of anxiety and a lot of time. And I just released all of the chemicals in my body because I imagined my dad's funeral. And so I'm pre-grieving my father whenever it's not even time for that. Yikes. So this has been a great example of top-down anxiety.